besides these guys. They're horrible. Horrible people.
You bringing it over?
Yeah, I'm just putting it on Twitter and everything now that it's live. And, oh, damn it. Sending the text and stuff. But we should be live on YouTube. Twitter. Email. Sorry. Text. Okay.
Anybody have their mittens? Anybody with mittens? We'll get a chair. No?
I could do this.
I tried to do it on the dog, but nobody had. Let's not make them mad. I thought the mittens would be more subtle. Just hold them out. All right. Ready?
Thank you. Thank you, Bernie.
Oh, wait. When she wiggled, it screwed up the camera. Hold on. I'm sorry. All right.
Thank you, Bernie. We appreciate the support. Feel the burn.
Crap! I cut it off. You paused.
Are we live?
Give us a she paused. I thought you were done.
Give us the 3, 2, 1 count.
I was trying.
Go ahead.
All right, guys.
What you wanted to say? Thank you, Bernie.
No, what you guys just said. I'll wait until you're done.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Bernie, for the support. Feel the burn.
Ready?
Here, hold it. Can we do it together?
Yeah. So you guys were give your names and how long you've worked here.
Okay. Shelby Marmer. I'm a nurse. I've been here for 5 years.
I'm Liz. I've been with Mercy for almost a year.
And I might not be as good as Bernie, but did Bernie send pizza or something that you guys were just shouting out?
He sent a check
Oh, okay. Cool.
for I don't know how much, but it's probably
Okay, cool.
a good amount.
So we're in front of Mercy Hospital where hospital workers have been striking, I guess, for a month now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a month. And kind of let's start from the beginning. Obviously, the pandemic. Before the pandemic, conditions were probably not so swell. The pandemic accelerated that. Talk about what was going on in here in terms of staffing, understaffing, kind of chaos, whatever you could share.
Before the pandemic, the staffing was like getting rough, but I still had like the 1 to 5, 1 to 6, sometimes 1 to 7, but that was like on a rough night. And then right after the pandemic started, like last year or whatever, I started getting like more patients. I'd be like 1 to 8, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. And now we're up to like 1 to 10 on nights, and I'm like, oh my God, I have 10. But then when we have 8, I'm like, blessed, I have 8 patients today. Like, I shouldn't be saying that. Having 8 patients is not okay to take care of. You know, they're all sick. They all need something. I'm not passing meds. I'm not finishing passing my med pass until like 12 o'clock. People want their pain meds and they're waiting for hours because I'm like, I can't come back to you right now. Or they're sitting in their stool and their urine for hours because I can't change them. There's no staff to help me change them and roll them. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to come back to you like on my next round. It's
What's the normal rotation? Should it be like 4 or 5 patients?
Yeah, roughly. Roughly it's like 4 to 6 on nights, and then on days it's a little bit different. She's on day shift.
And can you kind of talk about, you would think during a pandemic they would be increasing resources,
Right.
But it sounds like they were just pumping more patients in without additional hands on deck.
Yeah,
And without supplies.
yeah, no supplies.
There were multiple shifts where we would have patients on IV fluids like LR and not even having that on our floor, where you have to run to a different floor. Like, you don't have somebody that can even go grab it. So then you have to find time in the middle of your shift to go to a different floor. Then they're not stocked. So you're going to multiple floors. And the setup of our floor specifically is just very large. The locations of where our patients are that we specifically are taking care of even isn't conducive, where you're running all over the floor. Sometimes having multiple fall risk patients, which is just not safe, that you can't be in the vicinity of the patient even.
Can you kind of talk about, it sounds like in addition to the understaffing, did you have enough equipment for yourself to be safe?
No equipment. We didn't have urinals. Sometimes the beds don't work, which is ridiculous because we can't put the bed alarm on someone. How are we going to know they're going to get up, you know? And then we're supposed to round like hourly, but that's not happening when we're having 10 patients, 8 patients, you know? It just, yeah.
I went to even empty a urinal and get a patient cleaned up, and there weren't even gloves. And that wasn't even just in that room. I went to a neighboring room, and there weren't gloves. So then I went to my cart where I was having my medications, and there weren't gloves. So then again, it's trying to go to the stock room, no gloves there, so then you're running to a different floor to find gloves. And that's just for gloves.
And how about masks, shields, gowns for yourselves?
So like when the pandemic started, we were supposed to be reusing the N95s, and specifically for me, my face is like small, right? So I can't fit into the regular blue N95, so I had to have like this like duck mask, but they didn't have any. So like I couldn't take care of the patients, which is like unfair for like the rest of my coworkers because they're stuck going on the same rotation when I'm just sitting here like not having to deal with the COVID patients. Sometimes we don't have gowns, like we'll have to reuse the same gown sometimes, like so we'll have like a throwaway gown, and then we'll have like a plastic gown that's like washable, so like I'll just take it off and put it on the door so I have it back when I come back into the room, so I'm not wasting supplies.
And talk about this hospital. You know, every hospital is different. Some are nonprofits, but still are making money hand over fist. I assume Mercy Hospital has been doing fairly well over the years, while basically leaving you guys to makeshift urinals and
Right.
no staff. What's the hospital been doing in terms of profit?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure. I know they're have to be kind of making some kind of money because they're building a new hospital, like in Lockport or like another town over. So clearly they have some kind of money somewhere, but they can't allocate it to the staff. They're going to allocate it somewhere else.
And for you, what has been the hospital's message to you guys? Because it seems like pre-pandemic, understaffed. During the pandemic, clearly understaffed. Equipment not working, this and that. What have they been telling you guys in terms of your demands?
So they've specifically said, like, oh, you're doing such a good job. We're getting, like, letters from patients saying you're doing a good job. So it's almost like, even though we're still doing a good job and we still care and we're still trying hard, it's more of, like, because you can, you have to. Instead of, like, you're so stretched thin, we want to provide, like, resources to you and help. It's more of, you can do it, so continue.
It will stretch you even more thinner. Well, yeah, you know.
Stretch you even more thinner?
Yeah. Here's more patients. Like on
Yeah.
my floor specifically, they added an extra room. So what it used to be a room for like to do echoes, like and like heart, whatever ultrasounds, and somehow the next day I came back and they switched it to a patient's room, so they can add more patients. So we're originally like a 48 bed unit, and then they added the extra room, and I asked people, I'm like, how is this possible when we don't even have the staff to take care of the 48 patients we have now? Yeah. And then we split like half, so like the floor we work on is like a T-shaped, so half the floor went to a COVID unit. So now we're having to spread the limited staff that we have to 2 different units, and like we have to staff the COVID people a little bit better because the COVID patients, they're so sick and like they can decline in like a heartbeat.
And I would have to assume also, if you guys are so understaffed, if equipment's not working, urinals, everything you're describing, and people are in here with COVID, physically sick, probably scared out of their mind, the patient care and just the patient kind of fear is even worse.
Oh, for sure. The COVID patients are horrified. They're so scared because like they're stuck in isolation. Their family members can't visit them. Like I can't imagine like this is the face that they see, and it's not even like my face. It's like a mask and like a full gown PPE screaming to them because they can't hear me. Because whether they have a high flow mask, like it's like this hot air blowing up your nose, like at like 100% oxygen. Like it's painful. It's super loud. It can get sweaty for them. Like they're uncomfortable. They're crying. They miss their family. They just want to get better. It's sad. It's a sad sight.
And normally, like, we could have the honor of being one of those visitors and people to take care of those patients, considering they can't have family, they can't have visitors. Some of them don't even have smartphones to, like, FaceTime family. My grandfather was actually recently here on a COVID unit, and the fact that he didn't have visitors for nearly 2 weeks, and the staff taking care of him was the only people that he saw for that amount of time, that is just very unfortunate that we don't even have the time. to see.
It doesn't sound like the staff could adequately care.
Right.
It's basically like factory line working, going through a patient at giving them their meds, giving their assessment. I can't even like have a full-blown conversation. I'm like, oh, are you in pain? How are you feeling? Like, I'll ask my orientation questions, and that's like basically the conversation. When I'm used to talking to them, like, oh, like, do you have any dogs? What kind of job do you do? Are you retired? How do you like retirement? Like, getting to know them outside of like the patient aspect, you know? But
And let me ask you also, because it seems, I mean, I don't know, I used to date a nurse. There seems to be always people trying to get into units. So it's not like they couldn't staff up and increase the staff to take the burden off hours, shifts. I'm sure they could afford equipment if things are malfunctioning or there's not enough equipment. So is this just your dime a dozen hospital or corporation, you know, nickel and diming you and, you know, just kind of trying to squeeze as much juice out of the orange? Why aren't they providing resources? Because they certainly are making profit.
that I have no idea. Mark Sullivan quoted, and I'm not going to quote him, but like in an interview, he said that there is a person coming to the Clean Holdings with all the staff and the equipment twice a shift, and I have never once seen a person come and staff the equipment. Like I'll see in the morning, like we'll have this lady come in to stock the linen, but that's once a shift in the morning. Like I haven't seen anybody come stock a thing, so I don't know where he's getting the information from, but it's not happening.
And being day shift, I've seen a couple more people in there at times. But certain times we don't have the equipment. Even though they're in there, like it has to be supplied. And I know certain times it's not necessarily like the supplier or the person's fault who's stocking. Because if they don't have it, like they can't stock the room. But...
What has been, because you guys are going on 30 days, it's not easy to go on strike. Obviously, it seems like they're threatening your benefits now, your health care, important for healthcare workers. What has been their response? Do you think they're operating in good faith? Are they negotiating in good faith? Have they basically told you to take a hike? What has been the response?
Personally, I don't think they're bargaining in good faith. They're like from the union and like the bargaining team. I don't really speak for them, but like I know like they'll post like, oh, we're still waiting for Catholic Health to come up. Like they do no call, no shows. Like the bargaining team is waiting hours on hours for whoever the bargaining team for Catholic Health is to come and talk to them. And
not showing up, you said?
Yeah, they don't show up, or they show up at like 2:00 in the morning. Like here you go. Like you can't expect someone to like read this whole paperwork and say, yeah, this is okay, at 2:00 in the morning. Like you need to be sleeping, you know.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, about the same. That is just more so it's really hard to know. And we're not there in the meetings, but I know our bargaining team is there all the time for 14 plus hours, where even if they get something offered to them, it's not something that they can willingly look at with a clear mind, considering they've already been there for however long.
You know, it's interesting because you look at just hospital workers, period. There's been a lot of workers quitting. I mean, I'm not talking about the vaccine, but just like stress and during the pandemic and understaffing and all the things you're talking about, which is kind of insane because we're still in a pandemic. And not only the pandemic, but you have kind of a backlog of people that need care for other things outside of COVID. So it seems like it's kind of this just kind of stripping the workforce down to the bone and then hoping you'll just take whatever crumbs they're offering.
Right. And we're not going to do that anymore. That's why we're on strike. We need the safe staffing. We're sick of walking in and not being able to take care of patients. We're sick of not having like our benefits. Like we are the lowest paid hospital of the entire like area. Like we should, like, to get staff, we need to be competitive, and right now we're not at a competitive wage, you know. Like
Buffalo is the second largest city in New York.
Yes, I believe that's true. Yeah. And then like our environmental staff, the people who are like cleaning the COVID rooms, cleaning everybody's rooms, cleaning like the blood and guts off operating tables, like they're paid like $13 an hour. That's not even minimum wage. They can go to Tim Hortons and make $20 an hour and not have to deal with the risks that they're doing here, you know.
So basically you could go serve coffee at Tim Hortons for $20 an hour, but if you're like saving people's lives, $13 an hour.
Right. They stay for the benefits, but
Yeah.
it's going to break them down sooner or later.
Can you kind of describe, because I've covered a bunch of picket lines, if you kind of drive by here, you might think there's like a Halloween zombie thing going on, but do people have to walk in circles? Is that kind of the condition, that kind of the rules of the picket line here?
Yeah. I think they have to walk in circles, or I guess I'm not really quite sure. I think it's like considered loitering or something if we're just standing around and we're not allowed to walk the entire hospital. We just have to walk in circles.
That's dedication to actually be out here walking in circles. I assume you're on like couple hour shifts at a time.
Yeah, it's 4-hour shifts.
It's usually close to 9 miles.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Depending on the day, it can be 9 miles.
So talk to the audience. Obviously, understaffing. What are some of the other demands you guys have been making?
In the beginning, they proposed to take away like our health insurance. They wanted to give us a high deductible health insurance, and I'm not quite familiar what any of that means. Like, so
Ripping you off. That's what it means.
Yeah. So after whatever, we're getting ripped off. So they wanted to do that. They didn't want to give us like a huge wage increase. I don't really know. There was just a lot, but mainly it's just like the ratios and the wage scale. Oh, and they wanted to get rid of our pension. So like so like all the senior nurses, not only are they're not getting the wage, their pension is being frozen, and like what?
You know, I'm not a religious man. I'm a Jew, but this is Catholic hospital, and it doesn't really sound like this is very on par with what Jesus would want in terms of retirement, good luck, and pay, take a hike, go somewhere else. It sounds like it's a Catholic hospital, but it's more a capitalist
it's a business.
operation here.
No values or no Catholic values that you would normally assume that you would have.
And can you kind of talk about broader than just what's going on here? You see John Deere, which, by the way, it seems that they just reached a tentative agreement right before we came live. You got John Deere workers. There's hospital workers who have been on strike in Massachusetts for I think months. Nabisco, Frito-Lay. I mean, something's going on in America. We know our electoral system's not really working. Why do you think now? Was it COVID was like the tipping point?
I would assume so. It's like Striketober now for everybody. Like we're done. We need to stand up for ourselves for once. We can't be walked on. Like that's not how business works. Like there was an article I read about some business. I don't know. I saw on Facebook, whatever, and they said that the owner or the CEO is giving everybody 2 plane tickets to go around the world and like a bunch of like money for their employees. Like how we see that happening. Like how come we can't get a fair wage? And
none of these executives, who I'm sure are making plenty of good money, they're not like on the floor with you.
I have never seen them in my entire life.
And I think too, it says a lot when you have healthcare workers and staff workers that our core belief and value is to take care of patients and family members. So it says a lot when it's so bad that we can't do it anymore. That there have been times that I've almost not wanted to be a nurse. That it's like, if this is nursing, that's not how it was when I started. But if this is nursing, I don't want it.
Right.
And that says a lot because it takes a lot to be broken down, I think. Especially in that aspect. Like, we take pride in what we do. We want to take care of patients. We want to take care of family members. Like, us being on strike right now is not because we're just done and we just don't care. It's because we care too much. And it's that we can't do it anymore. And I think it's just gotten so bad that we finally said, like, something else needs to happen because otherwise we just can't do it.
I also think it's dangerous, these conditions, because, I'm not in the industry, but I could imagine, like, one wrong decision could mean a life or death. One wrong administering of medication or something not sterilized or whatever. So if you're running around like insanity, 8 patients when you should have like 4, mentally, physically stretched thin, who's going to suffer? Patients.
Right. Literally, exactly. Like with the 10 patients I have, I'm like focusing on 10 million tasks. Like I'm good at multitasking, but like if I have like 3 critical patients that are all sick, like you can't manage them all. And like I'm scared to death I'm going to miss something. I go home at the end of my shift and I'll text my coworkers, hey, did I miss something? Like what's going on with this patient? Are they okay? Like should I call the doctor like sooner? Like what is going on? It's like, and like it's our license on the line. And if like something happens like detrimental, whose fault is that? Is it going to be my fault, the nurse who's running running around with their chicken, like the head of the chicken cut off, whatever that terminology is? Or is it the hospital's fault? Because they're not adequately staffing us. Like this probably wouldn't have happened if I had 5 patients.
And what has been going on during this staff? Do they have like enough replacement work during this strike? Do they have enough replacement workers?
Oh yeah, they are hired by Huffmaster. So
Huffmaster, that's a whole other story, but yeah, they are a preeminent strikebreaker company.
yeah. So the nurses are making around $150 an hour. In the beginning, they were able to choose, like this is what we just heard, that like they were able to not have COVID patients. Like they were like, no, I don't want to take care of COVID patients. And they were only taking like 5 patient assignments. So it's like, how can you have this staffing ratio for the striker or for the scabs essentially, but you can't do it for your own staff?
I was about to say, I mean, it would be much cheaper for them to just pay you, have adequate staffing, than be paying crazy amounts to replacements.
And then have your normal amount of patients.
Right.
Because, yes, right now they've had to decrease because they had to limit resources so that they could safely operate still. So sometimes it just feels like, so you can do it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because this is 2,000 workers, so not easy to organize that. What has been the mood? I'm sure times are, really good. There's really rainy days like yesterday. How has it been striking, the ups, the downs, and are you guys in this kind of for the long haul, you think?
Oh, we're definitely in the long haul because even if if they threaten to lose our health insurance, like we have the union. The union will pay for whatever health bill or like bills we need, and like there's food banks. Everyone's giving us donation. Like the community has really come together and help like the workers, because we're also in the community. Yeah. And then it's been fine. Like it's been up. It's a little depressing because like I miss being at work. I miss seeing my patients. I miss taking care of people, and I'm out here walking around watching, hopefully they're okay in there, because like I was on the night that we leave because I'm night shift, so we walked out together and it was sad. Like I cried. I'm like, I am scared for my patients, like they don't deserve this, And
can you kind of talk about, honestly, obviously there's a mayor's election going on right now. I know India Walton has supported you, but broader, we hear a lot about like, bumper stickers like Build Back Better and Trump's whatever he was saying, but you have a lot of this political slogan, but essentially corporations are allowed to do whatever the hell they want, and there hasn't been a lot of protection for workers over the last 30, 40 years. Do you think this could have a ripple effect if you guys, score a victory here with other hospital workers, with other workers, period?
I think we're making history right now. And we're fighting not just for us right now, but like for the next generation of nurses and staff and like aides to come, like because they're going to be like, oh, we can come work here because they treat the workers good, and like Kaleida, the other hospital system, their contract ends in May, so they're watching very closely how our contract ends up because there's going to be workers that come from Kaleida if we get what we're asking for, which is going to happen. I just don't know when,
Yeah. And I feel like too, because there's other hospitals that their contract is also going to be up and they're supporting us now, so we'll be there supporting them when that happens, but I think it's just causing everybody to kind of open their eyes and see that like they too can stand up. You don't have to just comply. You don't have to just say, okay, I guess it is what it is, or I guess I'm finding a different job and moving, because for me, I was limited where I live. I drive half an hour here. And I think that's the same for some people, is that either you work somewhere where it's not great or you move, or you drive even farther. But I think it's causing people to just kind of see like, okay, they did it. It's hard. It's not something that like nobody wants to walk in a circle for 4 hours. It is not something that, like you said, it's not a vacation. But we will see improvement and we will see impact, and I really hope that our patients and family members can see like we are doing this for them.
And also, I mean, I don't want to like fearmonger, but who the hell knows? I mean, different strands, mutations, we don't like, it's not as bad as it was in the beginning, but there's still a pandemic. We don't know the next pandemic. You can't have hospital systems that are this strained with workforces that are just being everything sucked out of them because it's still a problem, COVID, and we don't know what could come down the line.
Right. That's exactly true. Like, I can't imagine having another pandemic, even worse than COVID, and being stretched to the 10 patients. Like, I probably wouldn't be a nurse if that happened. Like, I would go find another job because it's too much, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
What's your message to people? They might not live in Buffalo, but they want to support you guys, or maybe hospital workers elsewhere, just workers elsewhere that they don't know where to start in terms of organizing and things like that. What should people take from what you guys are doing?
You can do it. You just have to talk to the right people. It's hard, but like it's good. This is all good. It's all good for good health benefits, good reason. Like, yeah.
I feel like to advocate for yourself. We advocate for our patients all the time, but advocate for yourself. Do your own research. There's certain things that, especially at the beginning of the strike, we would see things on the news, and even my own family members are like, oh, then I don't understand why you're striking. Like, Mark Sullivan said this and that. You have to do your own research to know what's in your contract, what is being offered to you, and really what that means. Because if you don't, you can just think, okay, it sounds good. Because there were even certain things with our contract at the beginning that was offered like a raise, but really when you figure it out, it wasn't a raise. It was really what you should have been making the whole time. So just do your own research too.
What does it say to you now that they're threatening to cut off your health insurance, which is pretty not very kind from a Catholic hospital? Do you think they're gonna have other heavy-handed tactics like that?
I don't know. I hope not. But I know we're supported, and I know that doesn't mean that we should just give in, because if that is the case, like, what else are they going to do?
Right. And like standing out here, if we give in now, like all this will be for nothing, I mean, what else I don't think they can threaten anything else, but we're backed up by the union, so.
Your name's again?
Shelby.
Shelby, what's your last name?
Marmer, M-A-R-M-O-R.
I'm Liz Pierce.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
So that was two of the nurses here at Mercy Hospital. I just want to show you something across the street. So you see that the core right in front of the hospital. This is the tent where they are. They got food, healthcare hero shirts. But I also want to show you this. This is kind of a collage of nurses, patients. I presume obviously during the pandemic, you see the masks. So this kind of puts a little more of a face to what they're striking for. I mean, all these people, all these workers who literally have put their lives on the line because they want to help save other people's lives. And this hospital, like many hospitals all over this country, are basically trying to squeeze as much juice out of the orange as possible for as much profit as possible. And it really stands out that they literally have a strike breaker company. It's called Huffmaster, that they're paying replacement scab nurses like $150 an hour. $150 an hour. I think they have the money to hire enough staff so that these poor nurses and support workers are not treating 10 patients at a time. I used to date a nurse. I think the normal range is like 3 or 4 on a shift, patients. 10, I mean, that is crazy. So we'll show you. And you could tell, like, literally they have to walk around in circles, which is crazy. I guess because the hospital says if they're just standing there, it's loitering. So you have people literally coming out, workers coming out. I think she said they're, when it's all said and done, 4-hour shifts circling around like 9 miles, I think they said. That is crazy dedication, because I don't know if I'd want to do that. So there's 4 different locations. So this is the first picket line. I think there's one kind of in the corner side of the hospital. There's one in the back of the hospital. So we might go try to talk to other workers too and just record it instead of being live. But this is one of several hospitals that are striking. You have the Massachusetts, I think it's St. Vincent Hospital in Massachusetts, that have been striking for months. Similar reasons, similar greed, similar reckless conditions. Obviously here in Buffalo, right when we started, they said that Bernie Sanders, I guess, had donated a check. So I'll have to look into that, how much. But Bernie Sanders seems to be the only politician that he's sending pizza to the John Deere workers, money to the hospital workers here. So really, really inspiring. I guess would it be able to, you'd be able to be mobile to go to the other?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So let's stay live.
Let's put my backpack under the tent.
Yeah. Keep sharing it. Press the like button. Share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. We're going to go to the other location to see if we could talk to some more folks. Poor Collins carrying a lot of stuff. How you doing? There's the strike dog. Hold on. So we're going to walk, see if some other folks will talk. Hold on. Oop. How you doing? So we're right, I don't know what part of Buffalo this is, but we are going to the side portion of the hospital where you could see other workers who are striking. And it's kind of, if you're driving by and seeing them circling around, it's kind of like, why are these people circling around? But literally they are made to circle around, unfortunately, because of whatever nonsense the hospital is putting out there in terms of loitering. So we'll show you this other part of the strike. We've been busy so far today. We started at an India Walton campaign canvas where they met India Walton, Jumaane Williams, who's New York City's public advocate, was there. He's actually about to announce a run for governor of New York. He was there, so he was kind of rallying the volunteers with India Walton before they went and knocked on doors a couple days before the strike. A couple days before the election. Getting the elections and the strikes mixed up in my head. And now we're over here. This strike has been going on for over a month. So, and these workers' health care is now being threatened. So here's another collage. CWA on strike, so that's the union. CW on strike against Mercy Hospital, Buffalo. So let's come over here, show you this other section.
Nice copyright.
Oh, yeah. Hit with a copyright. Here we go. So again, they have to go around in circles. It's kind of ridiculous, but they're doing it. Let's show you. Safe staffing saves lives. On strike at Mercy Hospital. Hello. Hi, how you doing? I was just interviewing folks over there. Anybody want to chat? I was just interviewing folks over there. Would love to speak with some folks. We come in peace. All right, I'll be here. Let me know. So, see if anyone wants to talk. I'm with Status Coup. So, that's the thing. That's the tricky thing about a lot of these picket lines. You would think that a lot of these workers want to talk. Even in Iowa, I was surprised. A lot of workers, whatever, camera shy, don't necessarily want to go on camera, or the union has kind of spooked them against talking to the media. So it's it depends whether they'll talk or not. But this is, I believe, the second of 4 locations around the hospital where they're striking. So they're out. Rain or shine. It was pouring out yesterday, but I do believe they were out here yesterday. It's kind of crummy and cloudy today. Okay. What's your name?
Karen?
Hey, Jordan. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
So I was just talking to some of your coworkers over there, and It was really interesting to me that they're making you go in circles. That's dedication for people to come out here. I mean, it's got to be miles after a 4 hour shift. Can you kind of talk about what it's been like energy-wise and solidarity-wise here on strike?
Solidarity is there. We're still strong. The community has been outstanding. We get community support almost every day. All the different labor unions and stuff have come by. A lot of the politicians have stopped and, just told us that, stay strong. And I think we've gotten people from out of state that have come in and told us that, they're very pleased with what we're doing, that our fight here is not only for here, but it's nationwide to help healthcare. So it does make us feel better that what we're doing is bigger than us. So it, makes us a little prouder for what we're doing. I mean, I think it's a shame that healthcare has come to this and that the hospital's making us go through this and that they can't just settle this contract.
Can you kind of talk about personally for you, because they were telling me horror stories about 10 patients and urinals not working and all this. I mean, what's it been like, particularly during the pandemic? It sounds like you guys are doing the job of 7 to 10 people each.
Well, I work on a surgical floor, an ambulatory surgical floor, so a lot of our surgeries were shut down, so we got, during the pandemic, so, we got sent all over to floors that we're not used to working. Myself, I was on phone calls talking to family members just to reassure them, and it was just heartbreaking to listen to the stories that you hear from them, that, I mean, how bad it was that they couldn't come in and visit their loved ones. And I said, I could not even imagine if, my husband or my family were here and I couldn't be there for them. So it was nice to be able to just say, we're here, we're doing the best we can, we're taking care of them. So that kind of meant a lot to me to be able to do that. It was very hard, though, to listen to what they're going through. And then you talk to the nurses on the floors and see, you can't get the supplies you need, you can't get a break. And it just was just terrible. You just go home so drained and just, thinking, can you go through another day?
And I don't know, they're paying these scab replacements a lot of money. It sounds like they have money to have adequate staffing, equipment. So is this just your dime a dozen story of corporate greed? Why can't they provide you with the proper supplies and staffing?
I don't understand why they can't. I mean, the hospital, I'm sure, everybody took a hit during COVID, but the government also came through and bailed a lot of people out. So, and my understandings were that, they were told, maybe can we go to the government and ask, and they didn't need help at that time. So, I don't know why we can't get what we need, because there's no reason that, because this has not been just the pandemic. This has been going on for years, that they're just letting the services go down. I mean, our pay is not up to standard here, so how do you expect to, retain and attract people if you're not offering what you can get anywhere else? And then you come in and the working conditions are so bad that why would anybody stay? Right. We have lost so many people just because of that.
What are some of the conditions that people wouldn't know about because maybe they're in the hospital, they're not paying attention, besides equipment, things like that? What are some of the biggest problems you've faced?
Most of it is the staffing issues and the lack of respect from, your senior members here. Your frontline managers and stuff, they're in the battle with us, so a lot of times they can kind of understand. But like we call them the ivory tower people, some of these CEOs, you don't see them walking the floors. You don't see them coming down and seeing a day-to-day life for us. So how do you sit in a corporate office and make all these decisions without coming down and seeing what's going on in the real world here?
And who suffers? The patients. Because you're dealing with, I spoke with people 8, 9 patients at a time. The normal rate would be like 4. Right. So that could cause stress on the workforce, the nurses, and errors can be made.
This is true. And the other people that suffer are our families. Because you go home with all that stress, and a lot of people are working a lot of extra shifts. You're staying late to try to get stuff done. You're leaving thinking, I wish I could have done more. So it puts not only the stress on our patients, but our own families going home, because there's no way you can go home and try to deal with that and then, go home and be all happy. And, so it takes your toll on, the whole picture.
What would you say, bigger than just this strike? You got the hospital workers in St. Vincent in Massachusetts. They've been going for months. Obviously, outside the hospital, John Deere, Nabisco, Frito-Lay, Amazon. Workers, I don't know, it seems like a sleeping giant has kind of been awoken. The electoral system, in my opinion, is a fucking disaster. So what do you think is going on that's kind of giving these workers, you guys, the drive to just say enough?
I think it's just the fact that it is enough. You've done it. I've worked in this hospital for over 40 years.
40 years?
40 years.
Wow, I buried the lead. I should have asked. It's a long time.
So, and I've seen a lot of changes here. When we started, it was more like a family, facility, and we just turned into a corporate facility, and then all you see is a corporate greed, and it just eats at you, and then it comes to a point where you can't take it anymore, and then you see other people saying, it's not just you, we can't take it anymore either. So it kind of gives you the strength to say, we're not alone, and, it's just like that commercial, we've had enough, we can't take it anymore. So it just comes to a point where...
And lastly, it's Buffalo. It's cold. It's only going to get colder. They're now threatening your health insurance, I read. How do you stay kind of invigorated, pumped up, and in this with 2,000 people you got to organize? Are you guys in this for the long haul if they're going to continue to basically hold out?
Yes, we're in it for the long haul. We're going to be here until they settle this contract. And like I said, what gets us motivated and keeps us going is the fact that it's not just for us, it's for healthcare in general. And the more, the community that comes in, like I said, we're getting people from New York, from out of state coming in saying, hey, we're in the same boat, and if you can get this, that means maybe we can too. So I think that keeps us going, to know that we're just the beginning.
Well, I know you're only supposed to say this to the military, but thank you for your 40 years. That is amazing service here. Karen?
Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So that was another just great hospital worker here at Mercy Hospital. 40 years. So that's a lot of labor to put in, and obviously what she's describing, in terms of capitalism, I call it the economic Hunger Games. This is the healthcare Hunger Games, where, if you don't have the proper equipment, good luck. 10 patients to one nurse, good luck. Patients don't get the care they need, good luck. And she said it right. The CEOs aren't coming down to see these conditions. They don't care. So that's what's going on. But really, really happy we could come cover this and talk to more workers. We'll be here for a few more days in Buffalo, so we might come back. They're going on a month. And from the reports, Catholic Mercy Hospital is now threatening to cut the workers' health insurance off. So this is what they're doing to healthcare workers in New York, in the United Corporations of America. So I'm glad we could show this. This is what's going on, folks. Listen, between my time at the Young Turks and Status Coup, we've been going around for years. And honestly, you are seeing, frankly, the limits of the corrupt electoral system we have. You are seeing the limits of the corrupt government we have. You're seeing even candidates that you donated for, you volunteered for, you phone banked for, whether it's Bernie, the squad, whatever you think, whether they're fighting hard enough or not, clearly the electoral system's not going to save us. That doesn't mean, completely give up on it. I think it's worth trying to get somebody like India Walton elected here in Buffalo, a strong, progressive, socialist, a black woman who has literally lived the struggle here in Buffalo. So totally not saying give up completely on the electoral system. There's other candidates. There's other candidates in your area that might be worth supporting. Look at a candidate's policies, their track record, whether you think they're going to fight. But beyond the electoral system, we're seeing that I think she said something really important, that it is enough. It is enough. And workers are starting to realize it is enough. And we can't wait for Democrats, or certainly not Republicans, to fight for us or to lift our wages or to make sure there's enough staffing or equipment. And remember, folks, during this pandemic, it's not really been discussed. Why is it, do you think, that there wasn't enough masks for these people? These hospital workers, these nurses. She worked in the surgical unit. Why didn't they have enough masks? Why didn't they have enough gowns? Why didn't they have enough shields? Why didn't because we don't make things in America, because the banks and the corporations literally bought the government, and they wrote trade deals in which the government then sent the jobs that made things to other countries. So I'm not against other countries having jobs, but it came at the expense. We didn't make masks in America. We didn't make gowns in surgical gowns, shields, sanitizer. We had to go to China and other countries to get them. So it's all connected, the rot and the corrupt government we have, and the exploitation of these workers. So really great that we were able to come out here. Please, 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 again, YouTube is obviously strangling the hell out of this channel. We have 121,000 subscribers, yet we're certainly, I don't even think all our subscribers are seeing this great reporting. So please support us if you can. Become a member, StatusCoup.com/fall, all the way through Thanksgiving. StatusCoup.com/fall. We have a fall promo going on. If you become a member through Thanksgiving, you'll get a free Status Coup shirt or piece of merchandise. So if you go to StatusCoup.com/fall, you will see the directions, which, there's various different levels you can sign up at, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month. And for that, you'll get a shirt or a different piece of merchandise. And if you're already a member, please support this reporting trip. This is day 11. It's very expensive. We started out in Iowa, where we covered the John Deere strikes. Went to Illinois, too, to cover the John Deere strikes. Then we flew to Buffalo. It was a fucking disaster. Our flight got canceled. We had to stay over in Chicago. My suitcase got lost for 2 days. But we're here. We've covered, in only 3 days, I think, we interviewed India Walton, who's the Democratic nominee for mayor here. We've interviewed the Starbucks workers trying to form a union twice. We've interviewed them twice. And now came today to cover this important strike at Mercy Hospital. So please support us. That's StatusCoup.com/donate. We've had a few really generous donations that came in that were bigger, that really make a difference, because sometimes you're on these trips and you're like, shit, man, we are bleeding money because we're, spending a lot to be, the flights, the hotels, the rent-a-cars, the food. After this, we're going to Best Buy because we got to get a new thing because this thing isn't working. It keeps flipping over like that. So we've had to go to Best Buy twice. We're going to go for a third time to get new equipment. It's all very expensive. Just this trip alone between Iowa, Illinois, and Buffalo will probably cost us between $6 or $7 grand when it's all said and done, because we're gonna, between Colin and I, that's 6 flights, the rent-a-car, 2 cities, hotels every night, food. It gets expensive. We're trying to do it as cheaply as we can, but please, if you value actual on-the-ground independent reporting, StatusCoup.com/donate any amount. And I think it's important, win or lose in terms of elections, win or lose in terms of strikes, we need to cover the fight. We need to cover the fight. We need to show the fight. Because if people don't see this, not only people that agree with us, but people who have no idea what's going on, then we're not going to get change in this corporation pretending to be a country, the United Corporations of America. If more people are not exposed to what's truly going on, the exploitation of workers, the controlled demolition of the working class, gentrification, which is horrendous here in Buffalo and pretty much everywhere we go. If more people don't see it, you can't get people to act if people don't know. So please support us. Again, StatusCoup.com/fall to become a member, or StatusCoup.com/donate to support this specific trip. Thank you for watching. We'll see you later.